What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you on Fisker. I want to go over some of the current data points, what's been coming up from the company itself, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So Fisker did go down 7.5% today. So Fisker definitely is not for the faint of heart. And the bad thing about today, there was a lot of volume. So 29.4 million shares being traded, 28.7 is the average. There ultimately was no long investor. So despite the higher volume, a lot of this just was algorithmic trading. So a lot of AI just trading in among itself. So that's not necessarily the best thing, especially with a new 52-week and all-time low being created and there is no big money buying. That's more of a potential red flag. So it did hit $1.10 today. And I think my last video, which came out tail end of last week, I did say that there was a very good possibility that 109 was going to be hit based on the technicals. I'll go over all of that in a second. But as far as news, there was something that did come out today, and it just says Fisker is official automotive sponsor for Art of Asylum Heaven 2024 Gala. So in reality, this is a kind of a good thing, gets their name out there, but is it a reason to go out and buy Fisker? Not so much. So this news is being classified as fluff. And as it stands, this company definitely cannot afford any fluff. And prior to that though, on the 8th, they did put out some news, so announcing a new CAO, so that's kind of a good thing overall. But aside from that though, this is a very bad falling knife. Since my last update, and more specifically today, meaning Wednesday, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin ETF got the rubber stamp from the SEC. So that does mean that people's appetite for risk, most likely over the next little bit, is going to completely explode. And then at the same time, Thursday, there's also CPI data coming out. So a lot of different things all happening at the exact same time. If CPI data is positive, then you are going to see a broad market rally. And in Fisker's case, the fact that it is sitting on a very strong support might actually work in its favor, meaning it might have a nice pop up as a result of algorithmic trading and just a lot of long investors potentially getting in and looking for value plays. So that's just my own opinion, of course. I have been monitoring exactly what some analysts have been doing. So there hasn't been any recent ratings. So the last rating was done, where was it, right here? So last month, and that was Citi from 𝗖𝗓𝗧𝗧, who does have it doesn't populate right now, but a $4 price target. So kind of good stuff overall. Based on the latest Morningstar report for Fisker, does show the fair market value based on the assets being $3.16. So we already do know just a lot of people are forecasting a lot of negative operational updates and just them needing a lot of money, meaning dilution. So that is why you see this big deviation based on the fair market value and the current share price of Fisker. So this is what is happening. But based on their upcoming Q4 earnings, I have been monitoring to see if there's any analysts doing any changes. And there has been some changes as of late. So for earnings per share, there was 7 analysts with a consensus of negative 24 cents. And now no change for the number of analysts, so still 7, but it is negative 25 cents. So someone amended their estimate to be a little bit more bearish on the earnings per share. But looking on revenue though, this is kind of more optimistic. So for instance, there was 6 analysts with a consensus of 310.9 million. It did jump up to 327.99 million, and now there is 7 analysts with a estimate. So people are a lot more optimistic about clearly Q4 and their revenue. So let me know your thoughts on that. And aside from that though, you do see analysts, despite the price action that's been happening with Fisker, do see some upside with Fisker's revenue, this nice chart up. And that's exactly what you want to look for in a growth stock. So again, there's kind of a risk versus reward scenario going on right now. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think right now it is a good value play, or do you think it's still too risky? Looking at the multiples though, a lot of analysts are saying that 2024 is going to be very much dedicated on multiples. So companies that are trading at a discount and whatever else, looking on Fisker, their future PS ratio is 0.2. That is very that's nothing. Like that's It's crazy. And as well, their current PS ratio is about 5.3, so that kind of is somewhat high. So let me know your thoughts on Fisker. There was an article that did come out really bringing up Fisker and how it is top 10 most heavily shorted stocks out there. So right now it does have a 48.91% short interest, which is a percentage of the free float. Today, again on Wednesday, shorts did increase 2.05 million shares. 104.77 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is opening up a little bit higher in comparison to the previous day, so 48.61. And through Interactive Broker, short availability does indicate around 350,000 shares are available to be shorted. Options wise, $409,000 in calls being purchased versus $481,000 in puts. And then sentiment wise, 51% of all the options being done today were bearish. So not necessarily the best, especially once again with it hitting a new 52-week and all-time low. Of the call options that are being purchased, there's a anticipation for it to be above $1.50 by the end of next week. And looking at puts, it is anticipated for it to be sub $1. So based on the technicals right now, with it at $1.11, it is trading between this S3 and this S2. So with all the stuff that is kind of coming out tomorrow, so of course the Bitcoin ETF, their CPI, all of that, the market's going to try to digest to see where things might be going. So far, it does look like the market is ready to rally as a result of that. So you'll want to watch that $1.09 to hold. So that's a very strong support, and then vice versa, $1.32 is going to be the next strong resistance. A lot of volatility, kind of wide gaps, so just be aware of that. But if it does break this $1.09, then this is where things get very, very scary. So the next kind of support after that is going to be more of a psychological one, and that'll be $1. And then below that, it'll just be more of the hold numbers, so 90 cents, 80 cents, and so forth. So not the best scenario that Fisker is on, so they're kind of staring off of a virtual cliff, technical wise, of course. So what's your thoughts on Fisker? And have you been buying? Have you been selling? Give yourself a shout out. And moving on to this though, two indicators that I like to look at. Momentum shows number of retail investors have been getting out, and looking at stochastic, you do see it at 6. So if there's a good piece of news that does come out, such as CPI for instance, you are going to see a rush of value investors getting into discounted stocks such as Fisker. So that's something to consider. Right now though, there is no defined trend, so that's something as well just to factor in. Let me know your thoughts on Fisker. I know it has gone down quite a lot. A lot of people like to hate on it, especially with the impending dilution potentially coming in the next quarter and a half from now. But I don't know. Part of me still feels that there is a pretty good risk versus reward at this stage. But then again, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. So give yourself a shout out if you have been brave enough to buy. As well, on a side note, take advantage of this promo that I've been sharing with you. Simply sign up for an account with Moonboo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So this has been extended up until January the 15th. So take advantage of this while you can. Link in the description below and also the comments. So with all that said, I appreciate all of you watching. Stay tuned for tomorrow. Definitely will be a lot of volatility. You could possibly get some pretty good discounts if there is some sell-offs, but just be very cautious with Fisker because her technicals, that's kind of the downfall of Fisker. But still, let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And with that, I appreciate all of you watching.